To the Call to Defend live stream, where Jesus will be talking a lot more clearly than we are, because he was not eating pizza. I'm Caleb Elliott, and this is Josh Davis. I'm going to go get more pizza.
We have not done the setup. What was the last time we did the setup?
It's been a hot second, my guy.
Alright, I'm going to go through our videos. We got a lot of videos now.
By the way, this is proof that I'm not short. You're short.
Who said you were short?
6 foot.
I'm 6'2".
Okay, and? Sorry, we can't all be the Nephilim.
Okay. I'm trying to think. What would have been the last one? Because it's been a while ago.
I could not tell you, my dude.
I'm scrolling. Man, this goes way back. I think the last time we did this setup. Ooh. Potentially, it was May 29th.
Wow. Really?
Potentially. I thought there was one that came after this one. Maybe I'm thinking something else that came before it. But that would have been our third episode of the Trinity video.
Nice.
Because I'm looking at the rest of them. Yeah, the rest of them were just when we were separated or from stream. Dang.
Oh, you mean the Trinity series, which we totally continue?
I technically considered last week's stream a continuation.
Okay.
I put that under the thing because we said Two Powers of Heaven was going to be part of that stream at some point.
Fair enough.
So I counted that.
Look at us.
It's just been a minute since we actually did that. I don't actually see how our audio is doing. I put that under the thing because we said Two Powers of Heaven was going to be part of that stream at some point. Interesting, we're echoing. So I counted that.
I mean, this room is not exactly a
No, our
soundstage.
microphones are echoing.
Oh.
They're not in isolation mode. Here, join the stream for a second. So I can exit the stream, turn echo cancellation back on, and fix it.
Hang on.
Microphones are echoing. Oh. They're not in isolation mode.
They are not.
Well, let me try this. I'm going to try that too and see if that helps a little bit. Exit stream, turn echo cancellation back on, and fix it. I am the one person
Oh, that means I need a name. I didn't have one ready.
You don't need to name one ready. It's just pull up. Just pull up.
I don't think you want to be pulling up with the name that's already in there.
Pull up.
Hang on. This is important.
You don't need to name one ready. It's just pull up. You joined hearing me like 4 times. Just pull up.
You do not want me rejoining as a circumcised Philistine.
Oh, when you showed up in my presentation as that? Dude, what's it mean the difference between that and now?
It's not as funny the second time.
Chop, chop, chucklehead.
Quick, give me a Jewish pun. Nope, never mind, I got it.
Oh my goodness. Aren't you the Jew? We're experiencing technical difficulties. You see, we would have been here sooner, but reasons.
Did you see that? Did you see my name?
Oh, I see. Why don't you explain what our reason for being late is? Why?
So I had a meeting at church with our pastor. Hi. I had a meeting at church with our pastor. Our pastor runs on his own clock. Excuse me. We actually named the time after him for how long it takes him to get to meetings. He was 15 minutes late, ergo I was 15 minutes late for our meeting, for our stream today.
Huh?
Okay. We're gonna try this. Mute yourself.
I have muted myself.
He was 15 minutes late.
1 second. This is what you get to experience. Is this we have not gotten any more professional? We just make it look nice. We have not gotten more professional.
We have the shirts, so.
Dang it.
I have muted myself.
1 second. Oh, better. We're good. All right, leave.
Okay.
Not that leaf.
Did you appreciate my name at least?
I'm fixing it for you.
No, I already left, my guy.
No, I made a plural.
Minorities?
Yeah.
I am multiple minorities? What?
No, because we're on the same screen right now.
Oh.
Not that leaf. Did you appreciate my name at least? I'm fixing it for you. No, I already left.
All right, I can turn myself off now.
Say, can we talk about how I was about to leave my own house?
Uh-huh. Speaking
I
of
have no idea where I was going to go.
leaving, at least you had the balls to leave, unlike Uthman.
Yeah. Wow. What a turn of events the last 72 hours have been with Sheikh Uthman.
Did you watch Avery's 2 streams where he was out in the streets
Mm-hmm.
going? I know that's the topic of the stream, but that's what I've been dying to talk to you about for like a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh,
that
yeah.
was wild.
Oh, yeah. That was phenomenal. And like Avery started showing like a ton of comments of people who were like, I used to be a huge Uthman guy, but now these videos have made me rethink that. And
Some people are converting to
Yep.
Christianity, which is.
yep.
I think the other fun part is that on X, they're like the ones who are trying to cover for Uthman are getting vicious. So Junior, who we remember he debated IP,
Yes.
so he made a picture of him holding a chain leash with Logic's like wrapped around it and calling him Dog Logic, saying who's gonna run now. IP reposted and said, "Wow, this is pretty racist." He says, "I'm half black." I commented, "So the other half is racist." They're getting wild, man.
Yep.
They're falling apart. But the other thing too is like he just debated earlier about how Islam is better for society,
Mhm.
and here's him
Right,
putting
exactly.
on a Christian on a leash. It's not really better for society.
Nope. Never was.
No. Anyways, I know it's not at all the topic of the stream tonight, so I won't continue that conversation. But
I know. Tempting as it may be.
Yeah. We can move on to something more on topic.
It's-
Now that we know. Yep, now we know for a fact
Mountains.
everything's
There we
working. Well, this is awkward
L'chaim.
because this is slightly on topic with what we're recording later. Tonight.
True.
Post stream.
True.
Anyways. So let's get to it then. Matthew 5. Like some of the, I don't know if I want to call it the best,
I say pentos. Yes.
because let's go. It is probably the most. I don't know if it's even. I'm not sure.
It is the greatest moral teaching in the history of mankind.
I was trying to think like, is one of the teachings that is the most recognized by almost every branch of some sort. Like Gandhi pulled on it for his
Yeah.
stuff. Like people pulled on for so many things. It is like one of the most well-known teachings of the New Testament. Let's put it that way. Because if you include the Old Testament, and people know Noah's Ark, people know this and that, and but yeah, one of the and the sad thing is we're not going to get through all of it.
I know. Real quick sidebar. You've never lived until you've had to try to explain to a 2-year-old the events of Noah's Ark. Because for some reason my daughter is locked onto it as like one of her favorite stories. I know why, it's because of the animals. And she loves the animals.
Never mind, it's like one of like the saddest
Exactly.
stories in the Bible.
No, it really is. And so you're like trying to explain to a 2-year-old, people were doing bad things. So
How
that's
do you
why the flood
explain-
came.
Like there's a lot here. There's
She's like, so they were naughty? Yeah, they were naughty. Yeah, they were naughty. And
and there were giants.
I left out that part, but it was more the trying to explain theodicy
Oh yeah.
to a 2-year-old of like why it's a good thing that the flood happened.
Why it was necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's tough.
yeah, no, it was not fun.
Well,
Thank goodness she's 2 and doesn't really remember much anyways.
yeah, just like think about like I remember just growing up and it's always been like that. It's rainbows, like kind of folks like, oh yeah, there was that nice little pretty boat and the animals were on it. It was like a nice fun water park ride. It was like, oh, did you forget about the previous
Yes.
set of verses? Talked about
Anyways,
wretchedness of mankind. I don't. It's one of the things I'm wondering. Like, I wonder what my conversations with my Lord willing future children will be like.
Mm.
Cause I like. Have you ever heard about Jeff's
I
conversation?
have just straight up told Harper that people die.
Well,
like today, I
we have,
told her. That.
we have our friend who has his like one short of the Northern Kingdom. And like he tells me about like some of the conversation he and his kids have, especially the younger ones. And he one point was like, heard the question was he was like, even for him, he was like, "Oof, how do I do this one?" I was like,
Yeah.
all the questions you could have asked, I was ready for. That was not one
I
of them.
know. Well, and that's the challenge, right? So my in-laws have a dog, and he's very old, very old. Doesn't walk well, doesn't hear well. Kind of starting to show those signs of like, you know, I'm not going to be around for another decade. You catch my drift.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been like trying to help my 2-year-old to understand, like, you know, things die. That's the way of life. Things die. And when they die, they're not around anymore. And that's just something we kind of have to come to terms with. And people don't give kids enough credit for being as smart and perceptive as they are. She understands to a degree. You know, she doesn't understand really, right? She's 2. She doesn't understand, like, you know, death means they're gone, right? Like,
They be gone.
they no longer be here.
No.
Lord willing, you see them again. But like they gone. And so she doesn't quite have that concept, but she understands, like, you know, okay, so they're not here. She gets they're not here. And we're trying to translate that into, well, I'm trying to translate that into, you know, and they're not going to be here. Right? She gets the.
They didn't just leave the town for a little bit.
Right.
They're permanently out of town.
Yeah.
You're not driving to them
Yeah.
anymore.
Where I am going, you cannot follow.
Yes. Well, anyways, we're gonna.
Yes.
I think today
After that happy topic.
I think today we said we're gonna make it a relatively shorter stream. Kind of as that's what the conversation goes, but that's the goal at least.
Yes.
We had a lot of things where we're looking to get done tonight, but Matthew 5. Pop quiz for anyone watching, if you know what passage this is. Unless we already said it directly, did we?
Probably we did.
Or did we imply it or did we actually say it?
I have no idea. I don't recall.
All right. Oh, I can at least pretend to play along. Matthew 5. Technically Matthew 5 through 8:1,
Yeah. True.
but we're not doing that.
No. I have an issue that I'll confess to where if somebody, like, I know the Bible probably more than the average layperson, which is not to pat myself on the back. I have a lot of head knowledge. My issue is heart knowledge.
Sure.
Right? The average layperson probably has more heart knowledge than I do, truthfully. Case in point, I will judge someone for not knowing a passage of scripture that's like pretty famous, like Matthew 5 through 8:1, right? But primarily we talk about Matthew 5 through 7. It's very famous. It's very well known, right? And as soon as you say it, right, you say it's the Sermon on the Mount. Oh, people go, oh yeah, of course. But it's like, how did you not know that though?
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah. Yeah. I look so pasty.
You are so pasty, my guy.
I'm directly under this
I
thing.
know. I'm not moving the light, so
Well, you can't move the light.
I probably could. I could definitely move the light.
Is
It
it
would
not built into the ceiling a little bit? Like wired wise?
Probably.
Then
but-
you're not moving it then.
No, but I could.
Okay. Anyways, we've spent 14 minutes fixing technical issues and goofing around. Hey, we got chats.
Yo.
Chaos. Whoa, Caleb and Josh face to face. Popcorn. I
Actually, I guess.
our first time we ever tried streaming was in this room, opposite seats, and we kept crashing.
Yeah.
Kind of having internet crashes, and we're like, all right, I guess we're just not doing this.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the second time. The first time we tried was
First
at
time was
church,
it was in church.
but the internet, we were only on the guest Wi-Fi and it kept crashing. Boy,
That is. Sorry, that's just eerie timing
Well,
because that's somebody who I work with for the meeting that I had at church, but was not present, was not involved, did not know the meeting was occurring. And he just texted me randomly. So that was a little weird.
anyways, Matthew 5.
Si, senor.
I'm gonna pull up
Ita.
Bible Gateway because it's just a quick and easy one to get.
So we have senora and senorita. Is there senor and senorito? Josh looked like he wanted to hurt me just now.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. Anyways, now that your shenanigans are silenced. Matthew 5, Sermon on the Mount. Bible Gateways gave me issues. There we go.
I have to sneeze.
Just sneeze.
Trust me, my brother in Christ, if I
Just
could
do
sneeze
this.
right now,
And go.
I would love to.
Cover and go.
I would love to sneeze right now.
Can't?
It is not coming out.
All right, coward.
Again, I would love nothing more than to sneeze right
Coward. I don't know why or
now. See, we're more unhinged when we're in the same room.
I know. Chaos. I don't know why it reminds me of watching a live broadcast of a radio show.
I mean, a little bit. We kind of have that setup going.
We are more chaotic when we're in the same room. We also have a lot more energy when we're in the same room. That's
True.
why I try to push for our podcast to be in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
Last week we were falling apart from exhaustion.
That's also, it was pretty late at night.
It was.
This one's not going to be much earlier, probably, but
Oh, it might be a little bit. All right, Matthew 5. I'm showing the
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
I don't know how much we totally need specific verses.
since you're editing down these streams, this one's going to have like a half-hour chunk.
Oh,
just
I'm not-
missing
I'm not editing the Matthew ones.
Oh, okay. All right.
I edited the presentation ones.
Gotcha.
Whereas, like, here's an
Gotcha.
argument.
Yeah.
I cut it down. So, this one you just because this one's supposed to be like an interactive Bible study, of which
Enjoy my
no one
golden.
is interactive with me except for one person. It was the person who argued with us in the other two streams.
Well, yeah.
Now, maybe we can get some of the discussion. So I have on the screen Matthew 5.
Yeah.
I think the big parallels, at least me in my mind, unless you kind of remember some grammatical stuff, the big picture is that we have these 5 through 8:1, these set of
Mhm.
chapters, paralleled with Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, much longer,
Parts of Deuteronomy. Yes.
much larger parts of the Torah instead
Yeah.
of just like a smaller chunk of
Oh, because this is what it's all been building
Sinai.
to,
Yeah.
right? And I guess I won't try to step on your toes too much, but there's a lot of building up and to a climax
Yeah.
that happens.
I love that you were building up like a mountain.
Thank you. Well, I was trying not to say it, but you know.
Oh, you can say it.
Okay. Well, so Josh came to me recently with the bright light of hope in his eyes, and so I quickly had to crush it.
I do that to you too, though.
That's true.
Probably more often.
Probably. I was actually setting up for the thing that I was having
Well, I
a
came
meeting
to
about
see if you
tonight.
needed help. Oh no.
Yes. Yeah.
You were
Was-
saying for youth group
Was it youth group? Okay.
because it was Sunday night.
Okay. So I'm setting up for youth group, and Josh comes to me again. The bright eyes of a virgin child.
I don't like that
And-
phrasing.
You're welcome. And I was like, dude, I was just reading this book on the Sermon on the Mount. And he's like, did you know that, like, it forms a mountain of itself?
I said more than
It's like,
that.
you did, but it's like, you know, it all comes to like this central point, right? Like there's build up, there's the central point, and then there's the let off, right? So you get this
And they parallel
this
each other.
this-
It's like a
this
chi-
parallel each other, and
it's like a
I looked at it and I
chiasm.
was like, yeah, bud. Yeah, I'm aware. Like,
It was like, oh, I didn't realize it was like basically a chiasm, but in the shape of a mountain. Because
Yeah.
people are like, oh, look at the parallels. Like, no, parallelism is when it's the same motion together.
Mhm.
That's why they're parallel.
yeah.
I mean, they're going opposite of each other, which means they're not parallel.
Yes. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
I finished the book. It was pretty good. I
Good.
finally finished it. It's a pretty good book if you ever want to borrow it. I think you, especially as a Greek person, would have fun with it.
Ooh.
Because he does a mixture of, he goes about the Sermon on the Mount from the perspective of ancient Jewish wisdom literature and Greek virtue ethics, and how the language plays with both.
Okay.
Because
There's definitely some Greek virtue ethics there. I'm not super familiar with the. 'Cause I'm guessing it's apocryphal writing, if I had to guess.
the wisdom literature.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or is it more so like the actual wisdom literature in scripture?
it's a mixture of that and Second Temple.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
So I'm not super familiar
well,
with
like-
that, but in terms of Greek philosophy, that'd
For
be very
instance,
interesting.
he points out like the word they translate as blessed in the Beatitudes
Mhm.
is the only word they ever translate the Hebrew
Yes.
parallel in the Septuagint, which is
Interesting.
very rare
Okay.
to ever see that, to have one word only have one translation.
Mhm.
And he was pointing like, okay, so there's apparently a very deep connection between this word and this verse. He goes over the etymology of the words and how they're used. Then he goes into the wisdom literature of the Jews and then the virtue ethics of the Greeks. And he shows how they really almost are exactly the same in terms of concept, with some slight variation, but almost exactly the same concept. Then he was going like, so therefore, because of this, blessed, in my opinion, is not the best translation. He's like, it would be better this way.
I've heard before that blessed is not the best translation. I am not well versed enough in the Greek to really formulate an opinion there. I've had a few opinions that differ from scholars on how things are translated. I hold firm in one of them.
Yeah.
I think you know which one I mean. Monogenesis.
Oh, I mean, in terms of the meaning, or
Not in terms of the meaning, so much how they disagree how it should be translated. And
It's not
it's a story for another time.
they're not disagreeing the translation. That 'cause I think we've had this conversation before. Maybe not, unless you're thinking of a scholar that I haven't heard of. I know the ones that they're saying they're not disagreeing the translation. They're saying that the root for one of them shows that it's something
Right.
else, whereas these other places has
Which-
the root we're looking for, and they're like, okay,
Right,
that's what
which-
fits here.
Again, it's a rabbit trail for another time. And I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I can't really form an opinion there. I haven't looked into that. I was not aware even of the use of the Septuagint, truthfully, in terms of translation there. So maybe, I don't know.
Like I said, I finished the book. I have a crap ton of underlines, so you'd have to go through
Great.
get through all of them. But it's still readable. It's a good book. It's pretty good. I liked it.
Mm.
And what's fun is that he even corrected the scholar on a translation choice that he made, and then he actually wrote one of the promotions on the back for like the book.
Oh, there you go.
And I was like, all right, so if you're willing to take that, then
Yeah,
that means
exactly.
it must be pretty decent.
Yep.
Anyways, so let's go to Matthew 5. We're not going to go into the whole Greekness. I mean, this was on topic with what we were just talking about, but
Yeah.
But the interesting thing here is the whole concept. So it's, in my opinion, is a little less, in some cases, a little less obvious in terms of like its direct parallels. Whereas like, Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days and him quoting the Torah, Deuteronomy specifically every single time, whereas like directly referencing passages, they're looking back on the time in the
Right.
wilderness. And it's like, oh, that is super explicit.
Uh-huh.
Whereas here is like a weird mixture of this is Sinai, and it's also the entirety of the Torah, and then it's also its own thing,
Right.
all at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like it's a weird mixture of like you can see how it's paralleled, but also you can see how it's not as explicit.
Yeah, and that feeds into the end of chapter 7, right, where the Jews are all sitting there, and it says that they were amazed, right? And so you might look at that and you go, okay, there's some pretty revolutionary teachings there, sure, but like it's generally good not to hate people. It's generally good, not to lust after someone, right? Like these are things that are just generally good. Why are they so amazed? It's because they have this background. Where they know exactly what's happening here, right? They know that this is a completion of the law. They know that
It's a completion of the law, the Torah, the prophets. It's Caleb's dying.
Yep. I'll be back.
Well, he's dying. So it's the completion of those things. It's also continuing some of those things.
yeah,
It's also, the word I'm looking for is is flipping their entire expectations of kingdom upside down. Yeah. Because it's frequently going on about the kingdom of God is like this, the kingdom of heaven is like
I'm
this.
still wearing my mic, aren't I? Oh, y'all are just gonna hear this.
Which is, if we were to parallel this to Sinai, Sinai is them, one of the things that's happening in Sinai is them establishing the people of Israel and how they will live going into the promised land. If you will, it's the establishment of their kingdom, if you will, their structure. And now you have Jesus establishing a structure for what the kingdom of God truly is compared to what things have been happening, compared to what's been happening before. Hey, Dharma Dom. Hey, gang. Hope you're well
Yo.
today.
What's up, my dude? Oh my goodness.
Welcome back. Hope you're doing well, Dharma. Welcome to this. Caleb is dying, apparently.
You ever just get factory reset by a sneeze?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to say something else entirely, too.
Oh, all right.
They're going to
I'm
make a
grabbing a
fat
blanket.
joke.
I mean, there's a lot of material here, pun intended. It's not really a pun, actually, but you know what I meant.
We are discussing, this is our third part. Probably got what? How many parts left of this, do you think?
I don't know. You texted me earlier today, I think, that
I envision at least 2 more streams, which could almost be put together as one potentially, depending on how conversations go.
okay.
But
And then
you
I
said
had
you thought
I
otherwise.
had a few ideas that we can discuss at another point in time. So
At least 2, maybe a couple more. So probably like a couple more streams. So this is our third stream regarding Matthew paralleling the Torah, specifically post-Exodus, with the Israelites and Moses. At first, it's more starting in Exodus itself, and then because the Exodus is the entire time out in the wilderness that what's the word sojourn until Canaan. Then you see a lot of the same parallels where they enter a new creation with the Sea of Reeds, but they are also still in that testing ground and waiting to truly be like created into their new land, which ties back into, I was just saying how like the upside down kingdom where they're getting their sort of structures, if you will, for like their kingdom, if you will, even though it wasn't quite kingdom, but it was.
right.
And then you get Jesus established this whole thing, which is based on what the kingdom of heaven is supposed to truly be, that people have not quite been grasping. That's like the Matthew Angel, right? Or Matthew Angle, sorry. Matthew Angle, more Jewish. Yeah, Matthew playing into his Jewish Torah. I mean, the entirety of the gospel authors play with these motifs.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Mark is very heavily playing with the motif.
I was reading a book by Brian D'Estelle, and his section on the New Testament, he has a chapter dedicated to Matthew and Mark, and a chapter dedicated to John and Luke. Almost the entirety of the chapter of Matthew and Mark is dedicated to Mark. Whereas the other guy that I read, I can't remember his name, devoted most of his time in Matthew and John. And so it's just interesting to see where people go with those things.
Right. Because there's so many places to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Sermon on the Mount, the establishing, the obvious thing is effectively what it is that they're supposed to be doing. What it is, it's a teaching from a prophet that is also conveying message of the divine, in which case...
The prophet!
All right, Muslim. In which case, we also have Jesus being the divine and the prophet, conveying the message for the Father, but also as the divine one, whereas Moses is just the prophet.
Yeah, and the word obviously being delivered to Moses, and then the word being the one delivering. Right, so you get a lot of
those fun parallels.
Those fun parallels, and a lot of role switching and taking on, and not so much switching, but more so the roles taking on. Right? Jesus takes on a lot of the roles that Moses had, and then some. So, yeah.
Well, because like it's out of order ish, but not. Where when we get to Jesus's death and resurrection, how it plays into the Passover and the crossing of the sea, but also those things happen before Sinai. So we get a weird thing of like, we get all the things pre-Exodus, like we do with Moses, and then we skip ahead, and then we come back, and then go back to being on track. And it's just interesting. Question from Dharma: didn't Matthew quote a prophecy that doesn't exist? Heard that somewhere. Matthew 2:23.
Are you referring to?
I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
And he went and lived in a town called Nazareth, so was fulfilled what was said through the prophets that he would be called a Nazarene.
I've actually heard that as well. However, I think actually Testify did a video on that. I believe there is like some misunderstanding often applied by skeptics. I don't have it off the top of my head. I will have to get back to you on that. But
then one other one. This one applies to the sermon. Matthew 7:21. Not everyone says to me, Lord will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Dharma says 7:21 seems so important. I don't know how you reconcile with Protestant salvation ideas.
Not that difficult.
No. And I will say this. So I was referencing a book earlier by Jonathan Pennington, and he is a Protestant, and he goes through a lot of this. He's like, look, first off, the sermon itself is not directly, specifically about salvation itself. There are definitely elements of it, but it's not like everything in there. So we have to understand like how things are being used. But regarding 7:21, I mean, there's not really an issue with, I would argue, like any of the branches of Christianity. There's no need to reconcile this one with any of the three branches, because it is the issue of not everyone says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, which means not everyone who just proclaims something and does something, but has no actual faith. And what are you looking for?
My mouse pad just stopped working.
Oh, here's your mouse.
Thank you. And really quick, I recall Matthew 2:23. It's not quoting a specific prophet. It's saying, the summation of the prophets will say. Right? He's talking about the summation of the prophets when he says, as said through the prophets, that he would be called a Nazarene. Right? Notice there's no quotation marks there. He doesn't cite a specific prophet like he does in other places. It's more so saying, hey, this idea is coming through the prophets that he will be a Nazarene.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole point there is, right, so you get Isaiah's statement, like, there was nothing about him that attracted us to him. And you get other similar ideas, right? Zechariah mentions the humbling of this prophet, right? And I believe it is Jeremiah talks as well about a very humble beginnings for the Messiah, right? So then you get the funnier statement later, which is, can anything good come out of Nazareth, right? Which is spoken by the high priests. That's kind of the point, right? There's this humble beginning. There's this idea that he's going to come out of where there's nothing good. Right? He's going to come out of this very humble beginning and humble upbringing to be Messiah, to be the greatest human being ever. Right. So that's kind of what Matthew's getting at there with the so was fulfilled what was said through the prophets that he would be called a Nazarene. He'd be called basically nothing. Right? He would be compared to nothing.
No.
Which is actually a fun double entendre.
Yeah. He then, sorry, I just wanted Dharma, you doesn't know we get to pop up, so I'm trying to address all this stuff real quick.
Mhm.
He said, yeah, you had 721 on screen, which is he was saying not sure how to reconcile with the Protestant salvation ideas. I don't think there's an
Not that
issue.
tough. No.
It's not that difficult with any of the three branches, really. And then he says, so will the Father really means Romans 10:9, which is if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved.
Yes, because then that statement of genuine belief. Firstly, if you want to talk about Protestant beliefs, notice there's no baptism there. Right. So before we go crapping on Protestantism, you have to contend with the fact that there's no baptism mentioned in that section that you brought up. Whereas, whether you're Catholic or EO, you'd still affirm soteriological baptism.
And Lutheran as well.
Lutheran as well. Several high church Protestants do.
Yeah.
Right. But if we're going to assume that we're just dunking on Protestant as a whole,
Like
I'm
the low
willing
church
to,
Protestants,
right?
your
Yeah,
Baptists,
I'm willing to say
non-denoms.
low church Protestants get a little bit of a point there, if you will. Which there's an argument there, but that's for another time. That faith right there, right? That confession, that belief in the heart, as it says, that's supposed to convey a genuine repentance, which then leads you to a faith, which, as James says, produces works.
Yeah.
Right. So
whereas in Matthew's case, he's referring to workers of lawlessness. I never knew you. If we are to tie that directly to a salvation, as in like entering into the pearly gates of heaven, as people kind of picture it, then we get that's how you could tie that together, understanding.
Yeah.
He then says, to me, Romans 10:9 sounds so similar to exactly what Jesus said is not enough, and then describes something that sounds like works.
Hang on.
Hold on,
So,
Caleb just
hang
kind of
on.
articulated that
Right,
that
but
belief in
if you-
faith produces.
And I want to be careful with your wording there, Darmadon, because if you're going to say that, well, Romans 10:9 and 10 is not enough. Okay, well, that's the only condition that Paul gives. So are you saying that Paul's statement was not enough? Right? That this scriptural statement, this statement of divine authority is not enough? Now we're starting to play with some dangerous territory, right?
Yeah.
Right, because Romans 10 gives no other criterion for being saved. It is just confession of the mouth and belief of the heart. What you have in Matthew 27 is confession of the mouth.
Yeah.
You do not have belief in the heart.
Right. And like I said,
Anybody-
that's what we're granting that is about salvation, which we are for right now. We're granting that
Right.
it is.
And yeah, no, I mean, anybody can claim to be a Christian. Doesn't make you one.
So yeah, reason why he's willing to throw that out there is because he doesn't hold to infallibility.
Interesting.
Which
Okay.
kind of gets into
I
the
mean-
whole why I am critiquing, I guess, anyway. So like if you're, I guess here's the thing I'll say. If you're gonna throw out infallibility and inerrancy, which we can have that conversation, we also have to ask the question, okay, did Matthew get Jesus right? We have to be consistent with that standard. Which one got it right? If we're going to pit them against each other, if there is no consistency. So now I would ask them the question of Darmadon: why is Matthew correct over Paul correct?
Right.
I'm not saying that I believe that, but I'm saying if we're going to play that game, we have to have consistency of criticism. So, anyways,
Yeah.
well,
we gotta,
we got to get back on here. If he has thoughts on that, we'll get to him later tonight, maybe. But killing out of the water. If you have any notes you want to go over between Sinai and Sermon on the Mount,
following your lead, my dude.
Okay. Well,
I have 1 or 2 points, but I'm confident you're going to bring them up.
why don't you bring them up? Because I'm getting water.
Oh, all right. I heard you mention water, and I was really confused at what that meant. But, yeah. So I'm sure Josh is going to go over it. We mentioned previously that there is fulfillment of the law here, right? And you get that right in the opening chapter of the Sermon on the Mount, right? That's Matthew 15 through 19. 15, excuse me. Matthew 5, 17 through 19. Dude, it's going to be a long one. I guess you can probably include 20. But really more so, he's talking about the fulfillment and the completion in 15. Oh my goodness, 5 through 17 through 19 of chapter 5. And so that's going to be a consistent theme here. We're going to look at the commandments given at Sinai. Well, you might not look at it. I don't know what your notes are, but you can look at the commandments given at Sinai, right? And Jesus specifically kind of runs through the 10 commandments, right? He runs through at least the more so the do not commandments, right? At least in chapter 5 there. Certainly, he does talk about the other ones, right? He talks about no other gods. He talks about no idols. He runs through each of them, but then brings them to fulfillment, right? So you get you have heard it said, "Do not murder." Well, obviously, we all know where that's from, right? That's Exodus 20, verbatim. It says, "But I say to you, whoever hates his brother in his heart has committed murder already." Right? So notice he's not saying it's okay to do murder. He's saying don't murder, don't even hate. Right? Don't even truly wish death upon someone, because that is the same equivalently as murdering them in your heart.
Jesus pointed out that is far beyond, for him, this was one of the things that was really interesting about Pennington, in what I was going to quote him a lot right now for this, because it's on topic.
Go for it.
He was pointing out that the usage of hypocrite. He says, in our mind, hypocrite is someone who does something counter what they said they will do. And he said, but it was interesting about the way that Jesus used the word hypocrite in regarding to like the Pharisees and Sadducees, is that they're already doing this. He's saying like, you have to remember, he's saying that in order to, if we're going to base off of entering the kingdom of heaven based on you, your righteousness needs to surpass them, right? And he's not saying that what they're doing, he's calling it mostly their teachings, less about what they're doing, like their actual like righteous actions. And the way he plays into it is that the hypocrite is playing more into different the way we define hypocrite, but hypocrite in the idea like they are doing all these outward actions, but all their inner person, if you will, kind of playing into the Shema language, is void of that entirely, that outward expression. They're doing these things, but they're void of that thing on the inside. So he's like countering, saying, all right, you may not have murdered someone now, but inside you are murdering someone. And that inside thing in you may eventually bleed out of you into actually murdering someone else. So there's that parallel of like, first off, you have internally, in your inner person, you have decided that you are a murderer, effectively. Even if you haven't done it outwardly. Which is interesting, that the whole inward thing where later he says, you can't love God and mammon, I think it is, or maybe it's where your treasure is, there your heart is also. And he's like, if we think about how heart is used within the Jewish mindset, is often used with the inner person. So it's not just that's where your love is, that is where your person, your identity is. Your entire inner being. If your entire passion is in this, or if you're consumed by anger and hatred, your person, who you entirely are on the inside, is just filled with rage, murder.
Right.
Even if you have not expressed that. That is really who you are inside. And he's calling out that whole, you've been playing with Sinai outwardly, as if that has been the goal.
Yeah.
You've missed it entirely. you missed that it's supposed to impact who you are inside as well, because those things cannot be separate. You cannot be you cannot separate the spirit and the flesh. They must be together. That's why I created you as together.
Yeah.
But you're making them separate.
I don't like you said separate there.
I know. I didn't like it either.
Separate.
I didn't like it either.
I mean, it's phonetically, it's right, but
anyways, not.
Fun fact: when you say together versus separate, your lips do the opposite.
I know.
Let that blow your mind for a second.
Well, it's because how many letters in the alphabet we actually have our lips together?
Yeah.
It's like
that
3.
You can't hold your breath and hum. I learned that recently, and it bothered me.
No, you can't.
No. It's isn't it 5? Because you have.
I think it's less.
That your lips come together.
A, B, C, D, E, F is teeth.
Yeah.
G, H, I, J, K, L, M, NOPQRSTUV
W.
Okay, that's for XYZ. That's 4.
So it's 4. Okay. So yeah. Wait, split the difference between us and we
I
we
just
get
said
it right, but yeah.
yeah. It hurts the brain a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Which I mean
what-
is funny because
Mm.
theoretically you could make so many noises with your mouth, but
Chaos asks an interesting question. Would it be impossible to separate the body and the spirit, or spirit from the body?
no, my dude, what do you think happens at death? So I mean, are you talking about while living? Because that's a more interesting question.
I
And
think
that's a question of NDEs to me, honestly.
that might be playing on the wording might be based on the wording I use. So I'm saying more like let me phrase it differently. The inner person, the outward expression,
Mhm.
is in conflict.
right.
That you are expressing one thing outwardly, but inside it's hypocritical. Not in the idea that you are doing the opposite of what you're doing, but your inside
Right.
is void of the true posture the outward expression is supposed to be having.
Romans 7 and 10.
In terms of how Jesus is being used hypocrite. However, it does also play to how we use modern day hypocrite of like,
Mhm.
you can have that same issue where
Sure.
you're internally doing the exact opposite of what you're doing outwardly. But
Yeah.
where Jesus is playing that, even if you're doing, let's say you weren't actually, let's say you weren't, I'm trying to think of an example. Off the top of my head, I can't do it right now. I have to find it enough. I can't for some reason function.
Yeah, we are 45 minutes into the stream and actually have not once talked about the mountain.
No, we have not talked about mountains. Okay. So first parallel. Let's go back there. That's not first parallel. But one of the parallels.
Oh, there's the first yawn, man. That's not a good sign.
Let's just back up. Okay.
Yeah.
So parallel is dealing with the fact that when we have Moses is called up the mountain. All right. I just start back at the beginning. So Moses is called up to the mountain, up to Sinai
Mhm.
in Exodus 19 to work
Yes,
to
ma'am.
talk to God, and then Yahweh has him go down to express the things that are being said.
Mhm.
Jesus is different. He goes up the mountain and begins
stays there,
and stays there and starts talking to them.
right? Which is a nice little wink back to, right? So he specifically tells Moses that nobody can come up the mountain. Right? God does. He specifically tells Moses nobody comes up the mountain, otherwise they will die. Now you get Jesus, who brings the mountain to them, right? Because they're on the mountain, right? They're sitting on the mountain learning. And so you have God in the flesh containing his glory.
Yeah.
So that he can just now face to face, person to person, deliver the teachings. Right. And that's a nice little nod that, probably at the time the Jews didn't consider, but we can look back and go, hey, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that plays into the whole idea that Jesus is the greater Moses.
Mhm.
That he doesn't have to come back down. When he comes back down is after the sermon's done. That's why I include 8:1, because 8:1 is him descending the mountain.
Well, and it's a nice little also to tie in, and I just thought of this now of, this law. No one has to ascend to heaven to get it for us.
Mhm.
Right? Well, in a way, Moses does.
Yeah.
Right? He goes up the mountain, disappears into the cloud, and only communes with God. Well, that's pretty close to heaven, right? That's as close to heaven as you're going to get without dying. And then, right, comes down with the law. Right? And so now he gives the law, so therefore it's no longer a law that somebody has to ascend to reach, but now Christ again brings down heaven.
Yeah.
And he brings the kingdom of heaven and just lays it out for people. Says, here you go.
Yeah. I think the big parallels we're going to see are more like the overarching, sweeping.
Yeah.
Like here's the picture being painted, and I think we're just for sake we'll repeat a few of them, because I don't have a ton of notes for this because I was trying not to get caught up on the entirety of the sermon because
I know. That's a very easy thing to do.
Okay, so we have the fact that they're both on the mountain. Jesus doesn't descend until afterwards. Moses ascends and descends because he has to communicate with them. Jesus just ascends, and they both begin sharing the teachings of, I just say that the Father, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
or in Moses' case, Yahweh, the non-human form.
Right.
That we've talked about last week. Go check that stream out. It's a great time.
It was. I sat furiously typing YouTube comments.
I know. It was a great time for you.
And honestly, I was in pure bliss, my guy.
But we have the messenger, the prophet, if you will, just taking that parallel for right now, both conveying the message, the teachings of Yahweh, where and I mean teaching in the Torah sense, not in like the just like regular teaching. Like they are teaching Torah, as in like what Torah fully means, where it comes from. It's not just law as some translate. Like that's what Greek kind of plays into, but its root, it comes from teaching. You can understand Torah as the teachings, and so he is doing like a mini Torah while also, actually no, he's not even just doing a mini Exodus. He's doing a mini Torah.
Yeah.
Throughout the entirety of the sermon, and so he's conveying that, while Moses is coming down is about to convey the way people ought to live, and Jesus is coming to explain the way people ought to live.
Right.
For Israel, it was how they're supposed to live going into Canaan / pre-Canaan. It wasn't like, hey, you're off the hook until you show up in Canaan.
Exactly.
Hence why in Deuteronomy they rehash some things and change some things, because now it's a new generation, new circumstances, changes that need to be made, enter. Jesus is like, this is the teachings. There will not need to be any re-explanation of this. This is just what it is.
Yeah.
And
There will be approximately 13 books that act as a commentary, but that's neither here nor there.
And so you get those teachings, they're both being have there. They're ultimately about the teachings that are from what they're going to say it comes from God. Because Jesus is always going to point the Father as God, and Moses is going to always point to Yahweh, God. But they're both pointing to the same one, and they're bringing on these teachings. They go through the teachings, and as you talk about some of those teachings, parallel specifically with exact points of Sinai, such as the Ten Commandments, where you have direct quotes from those things, where it's either expounding on them, correcting miscommunication, misthoughts on it, or adding layers that perhaps were just not considered when they were receiving it or when they've been living by it. And then you have, you don't get some of the wild imagery with Sinai as you do with which mount was it? I just blinked on Sermon on the Mount. Not Carmel. No,
not Carmel.
Oh my gosh.
It's not olives.
Olives?
Is it olives?
I blinked on which one.
Oh my goodness. I think it is.
What mountain was the sermon?
We're really knowledgeable, we promise.
Sermon on the Mount was delivered on the Mount of Beatitudes?
That's not it.
That's not it, Google. Anyways, I don't know why I forgot this out of nowhere.
It's just one of those things where you just blank so hard.
Anyway, so you have Sinai, you have some wild imagery sometimes happening. Like you have the pillar of fire sometimes. You might have the angels that the Septuagint plays into. Not finding it?
I just keep telling me Beatitudes.
That's definitely not it.
No, it was not called Mount of Beatitude.
Mount
Arbel?
And anyways, so you don't get some of those like crazy imagery, but you still get the divine teaching, of which this is not directly the same reference, but it's kind of like Paul in Galatians, where he's comparing the covenant that is made with Abraham in peace, in silence between just him and Yahweh, versus that with Moses with this massive imagery that is happening. And with Jesus, you're getting that.
Fun fact, you don't actually know the exact.
Oh, well, good. I feel less ridiculous now.
Okay.
I feel less ridiculous now.
I do. That's like a little bit of a weight lifted of like, come on, I ought to know that. I studied the Sermon on the Mount for a long time. I ought to know this. Then again, I guess one could argue I should have known that. We don't actually know. But neither here nor there.
What was I saying? Oh, with Paul, you get him comparing the two, and with Jesus, it's speaking to a community, but it plays into that it is God speaking directly. There's no mediators.
Yeah.
There's no second party.
There's one mediator.
There is no other divine presence that has to be there. It is just, I'm going to do this myself. The rest of you, my heavenly hosts, kick back. I'm doing this myself. And then you get, for Jesus, he then descends the mountain when he's done. Whereas Moses has to keep ascending and descending, sometimes either get new teachings or to make peace, like on behalf of Israel. Jesus just comes down because the rest of his action is that making peace.
Yeah.
Those are my big notes, really. If I could like
Okay.
summarize them, I don't know if you have other things that you want to kind of touch on there. For me, again, because I didn't want to get caught up on
I know
the sermon itself
It's
or
so
Sinai.
easy. It's so easy.
Or
to do.
Sinai itself. I'm going to struggle with both when we get to them in our podcast. For me, it was the imagery that's happening here is what's
Right.
more interesting, because the sermon itself is a chiasmic mountain while being on a mountain,
Right.
with the center of it being the Lord's Prayer, or as other churches call it, the Our Father, and then which is not quite the same as the Torah, but obviously the fun thing with the Torah is the center of the center is the Day of Atonement,
Right.
which at the center of the center is the Our Father or the Lord's Prayer, of which is praying effectively for some of the things of that atonement and some other things that is like, the kingdom's not here yet. Please show up with the kingdom. Even though you're here, the kingdom's here, like Jesus says, the kingdom's at hand. You'd like it to be here in full? Now, please?
Exactly.
Save us,
Yeah.
please.
Which again is a misunderstanding to a degree of what the kingdom of God is. But that's a topic for another time.
That's a topic for another time.
That's a long topic for another time.
Very long topic for another time. Like I said, I don't have a ton of extra notes. I kind of look more for the art form there, if you will. But if you had like more literary other things, like
No, because again, we could spend 100 streams alone just on the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
So, and that would still be a brief introduction.
Sure. I am petitioning that if the Lord has me here next year, that I want to petition that we do an entire sermon series on the Sermon on the Mount
Okay.
with all the elders and potential elders / Josh also existing,
Yeah.
because I want to be part of it.
I know you do, buddy. I know.
I want to be part of the teaching of it, even though Bobby's asked me to be part of the elder thing. We have conversations need to be had. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Okay, do you have any other thoughts in general that you kind of want to bring to the public?
No, I see.
Anything from the chat? Let's see. Did I miss anything from the chat? We had Dharma Dom. Okay. He had other thoughts. So wasn't specific to this. Okay, so he was, I don't believe him personally, particularly Paul. Okay, so I'm kind of curious why Paul directly is the one in question there. Again, just
especially when you get 2 Peter 3 rather.
Right, that's my question is more from an understanding of like, what is the standard that you're doing this critique on? Why is Matthew correct versus Paul? Especially when Paul says that he met with the disciples and they did not question anything that he had to
I'll
say.
be able to look at the. So I'm just going to join and mute myself.
I was gonna just keep bringing it to you.
Yeah, but I'm a visual person.
We can get deeper in, but I'm happy to not derail your stroll.
I can't
Wonderful.
read them anyways.
I don't call myself a Christian. Okay.
All right.
I don't know if you're still here, Dama. And then chaos, would it be impossible? That was the question we already answered. While living is what I'm referring to. Thanks, though. That was when we kind of addressed it, kind of didn't, because we were just trying to stay on topic. And then he said, Caleb, don't fall asleep now.
Honestly, it's a temptation. My bed is 180 degrees behind Josh, so it's tempting.
Actually, can I do this?
Yes, which is a little bit of behind the scenes. Yes, I record in bed. Don't judge me. Like I record everything in bed. I live stream in bed. I do the scripted content in bed, reaction content. You name it. I am in bed. I like to be comfortable.
Well, if anyone else in the chat has anything they want to throw in for conversation regarding this, or if you want to dunk on Uthman for a second, you can. If you have anything else you want to throw in, go for it. If I don't see anything, I guess, in the next minute or so, we can, I guess, call it, because the chat is quiet today.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into a little bit more detail. I feel like because
I was asking you if you had other thoughts.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking to expand more so on your.
No, I meant
framework.
thoughts for like from your own notes or like in general.
My brother in Christ, it is bold of you to assume I had actual notes written out.
Okay.
My notes are up here right now.
Okay, so then what do you want to expound on?
Well, so we can. Well, hang on. Actually, no, because we're probably going to talk about that a little bit later.
Which
So
one?
I was going to talk about the structure, but if we're going to talk about
Mountains.
yeah, we're going to talk about mountains, and we probably will talk about that later.
Oh,
So, well, I guess I do kind of want to reharp on a point here. This is a little bit of focusing on the specific text, but since we have a little bit of time to kill, I want to go to Matthew 7 and specifically the passage that we were challenged on earlier. Also, really quick, Dharmadam, if you are still here, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, and you don't call yourself a Christian. I would read that passage and feel a little fire under the feet, if you catch what I'm saying. You know, like, you're not even calling him Lord, Lord. What makes you think you will enter the kingdom of heaven? Right? You need belief in the heart and confession. But topic for another time. I just want to say that because, you know, if you're waffling, God ain't got time for that. But I do want to go to that passage, right? So you get the Lord, Lord there, right? Kurios, Kurios, which is, most people don't know, is a tetragrammaton. Try to say that 10 times fast. Go.
no, thank you.
Okay, then. Which is the double title, as it's can be referred to. You looking it up right now?
No, I'm checking. Just making sure these are going okay.
So the Tetranomagon is this double name, right? This giving the title twice, right? He says Lord, Lord, right? Why not just address him Lord? Because that's a specific claim, and it's something that the Jews would have picked up on, right? Because that's where we get, like in the Old Testament, you'll see, right? You know, Yahweh Adonai, for example, right? That double crying out, it's to specify that the Adonai is somebody specific. It's Yahweh, right? But in the Septuagint, that's translated Kurios, Kurios. Jesus is claiming here, when they say to me, Yahweh Adonai, right? Not everyone who says to me. So you get him openly saying, I am the same God of Sinai, now delivering this sermon to you. Right? And that may have gone over their heads because, you know, they didn't instantly try to kill him. But that may have gone over their heads. But Jesus is plainly saying what I was kind of, you know, nudging at earlier, which is, I am God. I am delivering these teachings to you, just as I did with Moses. Except now, I am the mediator, right? There was the mediator between God and man of Moses, right? Who's this archetype of a God-man. I'm now the real thing. I'm not just some foretelling of what will come. I am the thing that has come. Right? I am, right? I am.
Right.
I think that's a really cool moment that does not get pointed out enough, where Jesus assigns himself the title exclusive to God and says, yeah, that's me. And now I'm giving this to you, right? Because then the very next thing is everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, right? So everyone who hears the commandment that God is giving here, that I am giving because I am God, everyone who hears that and does it is like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. Right. So again, when we look at the end of chapter 7 there, it says, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority and not their teachers of the law. That last sentence there is everything, because the teachers of the law have authority. Right? I mean, the Pharisees are very highly respected in Jewish society. So what authority then is he teaching with that's not like the teachers of the law? The same authority he just laid out for you. All right, so I always get like a little bit of goosebumps there, because, you know, it is very much this Sinai moment of, the passing down of the teaching, except now it's actually God doing it. He is the one doing it, and that's like.
Well, it's interesting because I mentioned Exodus 19 has that one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
two Yahweh.
I know.
moments.
I thought you were gonna pull it up. I even pulled up the Septuagint of it.
I didn't because I did a whole thing on that last week. I was trying.
Fair enough.
I didn't want to rehash
Fair
too many
enough.
things, but you have that two Yahweh figure there where Yahweh says, "Go, Moses, go down, bring your brother up. Don't bring anyone else up because Yahweh, he's gonna smite them."
Right.
It's like, wait, didn't you just say that? Wait, aren't you Yahweh? But you're saying he's Yahweh and he's gonna smite.
Yep.
And but interesting, the whole mediator thing. Again, that goes back. Like Paul even outlines that in Galatians, I want to say 3, where he pulls on that imagery. And what's interesting is that in that one he describes the angels being there as like mediators of sorts, because the Second Temple Jews and the first century Christians had a much higher respect of angelology
Right.
than we do, because we kind of see like, oh, angels appear in the beginning in the Torah, then they disappear for a while, reappear sometimes during this middle, heavy presence in the prophets, disappear again unless they're needed in New Testament. But then Jude is like, yeah, those guys who slandered them, they're in trouble. Those who slander them, they're in trouble. And Paul's like, they know that they have much bigger presence, that they're here. But but that comes, for us, is more clear, I think, in the Septuagint, because if you don't know Jewish language in Hebrew, you're not going to find that. But in the Septuagint, it's just like outright, they're right there.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a book of the Bible where there is not some angel presence.
Sure.
Right? Judges especially.
Oh yeah.
I love Judges for that reason.
It's fun.
It's very clear angelology, just laid right out. And it's
But I guess the point being, like kind of what you're saying, that like Paul plays on the idea like they were there as mediators of sort, like witnesses to everything that's going on. And he's like, but what's the greater covenant? That or the promise made to Abraham, which was between him and God and private, if you will. He's like, and he like saying, okay, that's one where it says like belief is a thing that is like the pistis, if you were, the faith / allegiance / trust, because that word plays into so many like deeper nuances than just merely intellectual assent. We kind of treat faith as like just you intellectually believe these things and ta-da. And it's like, no, that word plays into allegiance, like you're giving yourself over to this, you're following this, and you're trusting fully in this. Of which
faith that produces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Luther. I don't quote Luther a lot, but it's the whole idea of like faith. The whole idea that faith is not truly alone, but because faith has like whatever that quote is, like faith is not truly alone because it has that works, but it is faith alone that saves you. But faith is never alone because it has those things. That whole point.
Well, it's not faith alone that saves you; it's grace alone.
Right.
But yeah.
But the idea that
right.
But is the idea that that is the greater covenant, that the greater promise, because Moses' covenant is, and whole event of science based upon that covenant. And now you have Jesus, where, as you were saying, there aren't those other mediators there, but it's not a diss on them. It's him saying, I'm doing this. Don't get in the way. I got to lay these things out to establish the kingdom. Also, I got to die.
Yeah.
Which, one of my favorite lines, because it's just powerful, and I think is overlooked, is like you have John, but also like in Matthew, Jesus on the cross. It's very clear that it says that he gives up the Spirit.
Yes.
It's not
no
that
one takes it.
It's not that someone killed him. That we kind of say like, oh yeah, we killed him. It's like no. He's made it very clear. He gave it up.
I mean, that's what Christ says, right? No one will take my life from me. I will lay it down.
Yeah.
Right. He will be the one who,
because he has that power to overrule it, and he chooses not to, and he surrenders it and goes like, all right, I've done everything I need to do.
Right.
But the idea of like there aren't those other mediators there. That is truly God has been stepping in for this, if you will.
Yeah.
Not that he wasn't involved beforehand, but it's like,
I mean, he's the source of it.
Right. But he's like, I'm doing this myself. I don't need someone else to jump in for me right now. I'm doing this myself.
Yeah.
Which is, it's cool. Yeah. No, I've caught that before. I caught that before what you're pointing out, but I haven't heard someone like actually like expound on those things verbally at least.
No, it needs to be preached more.
Other thoughts that you wanted to kind of get into?
I mean, if we want to really hit on the parallels here, we can briefly just talk about, because Sinai's crux in my mind, and feel free to correct me because you are much more the Sinai guy, is Exodus 20,
Sure.
right? Because that's the delivering of the
That's
base of the law, right? Upon which everything.
It's the Decalogue, 10
Right.
Commandments. Technically, it's the 10 words.
True.
That's technically the way the Hebrew uses the 10 words, or like 10 statements.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get that, which we talked about this. No, you talked about this a little bit. No, it was in my notes. That's why I referenced it in my notes last time when I was dying with strep for Exodus 20. I referenced Exodus 20 in my notes last week.
Gotcha. But yeah, so like we get the section of Matthew 5 here, which is the do nots, right? So you have do not murder. And I love how Jesus sets it up. You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, anyone who is angry, says anyone who hates a brother or sister, will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court, and anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. I love this idea here that he opens it with. You've heard that it was said long to the people long ago.
Way back when.
Way back when. The old covenant. I say, here's a new covenant. Right? He sets it up beautifully, and he does it every time. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, right? You heard that. Here's something new, right? Here's this fulfillment. Here's this new thing, right? And then he does it again with divorce and with oaths, right? And so you can go through each section here, right? So obviously, do not murder. Explicitly talks about murder. Do not commit adultery. Pretty straightforward. And then you get to divorce. You're like, okay, a little weird. But then you read what he says. It has been said anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality makes her the victim of adultery. So like, okay, is this adultery? And anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. And I've pointed this out in the past. How do you commit adultery against somebody you're not married to? Because it's not, right? The paper divorce does nothing for the oneness of the flesh. Right? That's his point here, right? Oh, I've given her a certificate of divorce, therefore we're divorced, it's done, nothing else. Well, hang on. Paper does not merit flesh, right? It has no impact on that. So really, if somebody's marrying a quote-unquote divorced woman, you're now coveting your neighbor's wife, right? Because he's still her wife. They're still one flesh. They're still married in that sense because she's able to commit adultery against him and he her, right? So you're now getting coveting. Oaths, shall not bear false witness, right? That's what he's going into. He says, do not break your, says, again, you have heard it said to the people long ago, there's that old covenant. Here's something new.
Well, it's like,
but I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, right? Because if you don't fulfill the oath, now you have borne false witness.
it was also kind of like, if we take Paul, and so I've said this so many times, where we quote his letter to Timothy about, scriptures God breathed, is meant for reproofing, rebuke, all those things. Again, the statement beforehand is that it's all there to make you wise into your salvation. Like it's all there to make you wise.
Right.
And Jesus kind of play into like, at the same time, a little bit of that new covenant, but also kind of like bringing them back into, these are what the commandments are supposed to make you do.
Right.
The commandments were there to make you reflect on the entirety of your living, because we've talked about before, like the Torah itself is not meant to be led strictly as legislation. That's not really the way. Like it has laws in there, but it's not legislation. Like there's things in there that are meant to be almost like wisdom literature type of like code of conduct type of reading type of thing.
Yeah.
And he's here like, you have heard it said long ago this, and he's almost kind of treating like you've been hearing these things as if you have just been living
Right.
by word and not by not
deed.
actually by the
Yes.
application of what these things. You're not living by wisdom. You're just
Right.
doing these things and checking the boxes.
Mhm.
I'm telling you right now, those things that you're doing, they go far deeper than just merely the action.
Right. And
As your ancestors knew this,
yeah.
but you guys are. But it's almost kind of like it's not. I won't say it's him chastising them, but there's that level of like
There's a little bit in
there's
there.
a little bit in there of that like it was kind of like Job where it was like we kind of like either act like it's only chastised. It's like no. God's playing like the stern father, like take this like a man,
Yep.
but he's not just like chastising them.
Which he literally says.
Like it's not just like beat him over the head. It's like, all right, you took your beating. Now I like remember it falls with this him blessing him,
Mhm.
which means the entire section is like I'm correcting you, but I'm doing so in a way that you understand the harsh reality of the world, but also taking comfort in who I am.
Mhm.
And Jesus kind of the same thing here is like I'm bringing my understanding to that you have no idea what it actually means to be in the kingdom of God.
Right.
You have absolutely no idea. You think it's this. You think it's merely just the action cuts it for you.
Right.
Your heart is a mess.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
not new. But at the same time, it is new. It's like
Exactly.
weird, like it's not new, but it is at the same time.
Right. And that's where he brings it to a head in Matthew 7.
Yeah.
Right. Where he talks about it would be those who say to me, Lord, Lord, right? There is not a problem of head knowledge. There is not a problem of, going out and doing the commandment. There's a problem with the heart. Right. We go back all the way to 1 Samuel. Man looks at outward appearance, but God judges by the heart. God does not care what you look like or what you do or what it looks like you do.
If
That's
your heart-
irrelevant. If your heart is not in the right place, that is the issue.
because I mean that's the like thing about the whole like fasting, the prayer that leads up to the Lord's Prayer is like, why are you actually doing these things?
Right.
You're doing it to get yourself attention. And if you're doing that, guess what? You've gotten all that you wanted out of it.
Mhm.
Or all that you sought to get out of it, which is that.
Right.
You get nothing more out of it. Nothing more. And it's not
Yeah.
saying like you must only pray in private, because obviously Jesus prays in public. But it's the idea of like, why do you pray in public? Do you pray in public to worship God, or are you doing it to draw attention to yourself to make yourself seem holy?
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, it doesn't matter if you think it's the right thing. Your heart, you have the complete total wrong posture.
Right.
That's not the kingdom of God.
To kind of round out the shall nots here, right? So we went over murder, adultery, false testimony, and coveting. What is the one we're missing? You got this.
Because I'm starting at the very beginning. So we have the first four, and we get to gotta go in order. My head. Okay, got through the first four. We have murder, stealing, coveting, adultery.
This is the one that everybody forgets, but you already mentioned the one that we haven't covered.
What I did? Which one did I say? Stealing?
yeah.
Oh, stealing.
So you also got the order a little.
I know. That's why I'm like
But,
I'm scripting
yeah.
my head right now. So it was
Murder, adultery,
adultery,
stealing,
stealing,
false
falsehood.
testimony, coveting.
coveting. Yeah.
So yes, stealing.
False testimony is like the weird ones. Like everyone says lines like, yes, that's what it is, but that's not the phrasing
Right.
there. And so therefore
It's incorporated.
I've
lying is
erased the whole
incorporated,
lying one, and therefore I always kind of forget false testimony. 'cause
But
that's the
stealing.
part-
So where's stealing? Eye for an eye. And you might go, well, hang on, that doesn't make any sense. But look at what the commandment is, right? You have heard it said that it was eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Right? So there you're taking something, right? You're taking an eye for an eye. You're taking a tooth for a tooth. But tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them also the other cheek. And if anyone wants to sue you, take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn from the one who wants to borrow from you. So Jesus says, no more will you take. Just give. It's give. Right? There's not so much a do not steal as it is don't steal, instead give. Right? That's where you get this idea of he incorporates all of the thou shalt nots into this section here of, right, we start murder, then don't commit adultery, then don't covet, then don't lie, then don't steal. And in all of those, it's Don't murder and don't hate. Don't commit adultery and don't lust. Don't divorce and treat her properly. Don't lie, don't even take an oath. Right? Just go and do the thing. And don't steal, but also give. Beautiful. I mean, masterclass. That is incredible. That is unbelievable. And he sums it up so well at the end of chapter 5 with love. Right? What are the two greatest commandments? Love the Lord your God, love your neighbor as yourself. Upon these things all the law and the prophets hang. And that's what he wraps up that little section with there.
Oh.
And it's perfect. He's not done though.
No, he's not.
He's not. He is so not done.
No, we still got 2 chapters and a verse of the sermon. Yeah.
But for the sake of brevity, we're going to leave you to do that on your own because we have other things to record tonight.
Let's see. Any other comments real quick? Chaos asks how we're doing.
Good. Getting tired, so we should hustle up, but good other than that.
Good. Then he mentions there was actually a book about adultery called The Scarlet Letter. Heard of that. I've never read it, though.
I have heard of that, and I believe that's where we get the term the Scarlet D from.
Never read it, but I've heard of it. Well, unless there's anything else for the good of the order. Take this
Well, you ought to give generously to our like and subscribe
I
buttons.
can't see your head. Your head's cut off.
Frickin' guy. You ought to give generously to our like and subscribe buttons. They are feeling awful lonely, and we wouldn't be mad if you did that. I think it would be very generous of you, and of course the Lord commands you to be generous, so he is commanding you to subscribe to our channel. Is that sufficient heresy for you?
It's like, how many heresies can I commit each outro? Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah, with that said, we will see you guys, Lord willing, next time. I think we have a video on tomorrow. You have a video on tomorrow.
I do? Oh, really? That came out that quickly?
I do it every week. Yeah.
Bro, I feel so bad for you. Oh my goodness.
I'm not done editing, but I have to do that because out tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I have fun with that.
Because we had those 2 weeks off
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't record because we already had content.
So now you haven't caught up? Yeah.
No, we
okay.
are caught up.
No, but I'm saying like, yeah, that's the
We haven't
issue,
gotten
yeah.
ahead again.
Yeah.
Which is what I was tempted to do. I was trying to get the group. I haven't clicked off the stream, but I've been.
I figured.
That's why I was trying to get them to kind of vote on. Hey, record one of my Chaos Monsters ones, and they didn't go for it.
Mhm.
They didn't go for it. With that said, adios. Lord willing, see you guys next time.
Bye.